A tutor at Accountancy Learning, and in this video I'll take you through the Business Awareness AAT Sample Paper 1 Task 4. So this task is about ethical and legal compliance. Just to make you aware, in the exam you will have an extract of the AAT Code of Professional Ethics in the references on the right hand side of your screen. So you'll be able to click on the button and it will open up this extract. Let's take a look at the scenario that we're given, and as we work through it we will highlight any information that may be relevant to us as we answer the questions. Helena works for a small accountancy practice. She has just started working on a client, BUAW Limited. Helena has identified a serious tax error which was made in last year's tax return. The error was made by her manager, Andrew, and has led to a large underpayment of tax by BUAW Limited. Helena discussed this issue with Andrew. He told her to ignore it as the error relates to last year and nothing can be done about it now. She has since discovered that Andrew has had a large amount of work completed on his house by BUAW Limited at a heavily discounted price. So there's a fair amount of information there. So to save you scrolling up and down in the exam, you'll be able to open this information in the references section as well. So that right hand panel will have the extract of the AAT Code of Professional Ethics, and it'll also have this scenario information for you. So now let's have a look at the first part of the question. We are asked to explain one ethical issue arising in this scenario, and we're told to ignore legal implications like money laundering. So what kind of ethical issues is going to come up in this scenario? So first of all, we're told that Andrew has had a large amount of work carried out on his house at a heavily discounted price. So there is going to be, for Andrew, there is going to be a conflict of interest there. So it means that there is a self-interest threat to his objectivity. So for Andrew, because he's had all of this work done, it means that he doesn't have good objectivity in this case. So it could be that he's worried that if he does anything about this, then he won't have the heavily discounted rates in future. So therefore, that means he has a self-interest threat to his objectivity. Remember, when you're doing these questions, we need to make sure we are doing it fully. So we've identified there that there's a conflict of interest and what the threats are. And that is because Andrew has had work done on his home at a discounted rate. So make sure you then explain it. Next then, we have the intimidation threat for Helena. So because Andrew is Helena's manager, she may feel that if she goes against him, that there might be an effect on her job role. So Helena is facing an intimidation threat because Andrew is her manager and she may be worried what it means for her job if she goes against Andrew. So Andrew's told her to ignore it. If she goes against that, what does that mean for Helena? A final one as well to consider is that if Helena doesn't report the error, that will also breach Helena's ethical principles. So her integrity may be threatened if she doesn't report this internally, as it means that she isn't being open and honest about things that she has found out. So you only have to identify one of those to get the marks and explain it, but there's a couple of ideas of what could go down in this scenario. Part then is to explain the consequences if Helena takes no action in relation to this matter, and again we're told to ignore any legal implications such as money laundering. So what might the consequences be? So if Helena takes no action, it may be that there is internal disciplinary procedures for not raising the issue. She may also face a disciplinary from her professional body for failure to report. And it could also be that the accountancy practice itself may have a claim against them for professional negligence or breach of contract by Builds Up Limited for making the error and not disclosing it to them. They may also have action taken to reclaim the underpayment of VAT, which, if they don't know about it, would be a financial issue for them. So again, you wouldn't need to put in all of those points, but they are the points that you could bring up in this particular question. So next we are given an extract of an email from Helena in relation to another client. So the email then says, "I'm looking for some advice, please. I am concerned about one of my clients, a car dealership. My knowledge is not up to date as yours. Could you please respond with information to cover the following: an explanation of money laundering, 2 examples of a specific money laundering offence that could be committed by the car dealership, and an explanation of the term layering in relation to money laundering of cash. Many thanks for your help, Helena." So in this email then, Helena is telling us that her knowledge is not up to date. And then she's asked us for an explanation of money laundering, 2 examples of a money laundering offence, and an explanation of the term layering. Once again, you will be able to view this in the references section on the right hand side of your exam screen. So we now need to reply to Helena, addressing each of the 3 points that she raised in her email. So remember, in your exam, try to write out your answers as fully as possible. I'm going to put down some points here to cover, but you need to be writing it out as fully as possible in your exam. So the first one then is an explanation of money laundering. So how are we going to cover that off? Money laundering is an illegal process where the origins of money are concealed and this is done through complex sequences of banking and/or commercial transactions. The launderer then receives the money back in obscure and indirect ways. So it's important there to make sure that you're getting across that it's an illegal process, that the origins are concealed, it goes through lots of different sequences, so that's the cleaning of the money, and then the money gets back to the launderer in an obscure or indirect way. The second part then is to give 2 examples of specific money laundering offences that the car dealership may commit. So the ones that you need to remember and to choose from would be concealing, arranging, or acquisition. So you only need to give 2, but they are the 3 that you need to remember and choose from. Then the final part was an explanation of the term layering. So layering is one of the 3 stages of money laundering. This is where the money is concealed through making transactions, which creates layers between the illegal source of the funds and when it is finally used. So layering is important to make sure that you get across that it is how the money is concealed. So the origins of the money is concealed by making lots of different transactions. So that is where the layers are created between the source and how it's finally used. And that completes task 4.